Welcome back to the Britannia Coin Company. We're a coin dealer based in Royal Wootton Bassett in the UK. With the recent news that we'll be getting a Flying Scotsman £2 coin to celebrate its centenary very soon, it got me thinking what other modes of transport are on our coinage, and there was a surprising number of them, so I thought we'd take a look at a few. We start with the steam locomotive £2 coin. This is a silver-proof version of the coin, minted in 2004. The coin was designed by Robert Lowe, who has also designed coins for Jersey and Guernsey, and in the past included the definitive designs on Jersey coinage. The coin celebrates the anniversary of Richard Trevithick's steam locomotive Pendarren, which is pictured on this coin. Richard Trevithick himself was born in 1771 in Cornwall. He was an inventor and mining engineer. Whilst working as an engineer for the Ding Dong mine, named after a local church bell which would ring at the end of the workers' shift, he began his pioneering work with high-pressure steam. Mines would use Boulton and Watt steam engines but had to pay royalty fees for their use. Trevithick began working on and modifying steam engines to avoid these costs, but that didn't stop Matthew Boulton and James Watt from serving an injunction on him and the mine. The work proved good experience for him at the time, when a number of others were also working on high-pressure steam engines across the world. He beat out the competition, becoming the first to get a high-pressure steam engine to work in England in 1799, although by some accounts it was in 1797. His work made the system more compact and lighter, but more importantly didn't infringe on the work of Boulton and Watt. Although when an accident involving one of his engines killed 4 men in 1803, Boulton and Watt exploited this news relentlessly. Trevithick built in more safety features, and the following year he had his breakthrough. With assistance, he mounted one of his machines on wheels, creating a locomotive. With a 500 guinea bet between two ironmasters on the line, his machine was successful in moving 10 tons of iron, 5 wagons and 70 men 9.75 miles at an average speed of 2.4 miles per hour. And that is the machine that we see here on this £2 coin, of which 25,000 were minted and just over 5 million were minted for circulation. We'll stick with rail travel with this £2 coin commemorating the 150th anniversary of the London Underground. The coin is designed by Edward Barber and J. Osby and depicts the 1967 Victoria Line tube train coming out of a tunnel. At the time, London had a number of major train stations, but none that had easy access to central London. With congested roads and streets, many suggestions were proposed to help ferry people from the train stations to the heart of the city, but none were accepted. An underground railway line had been suggested in 1830, but it wasn't to be until 20 years later this idea was reconsidered and began planning and raising of capital. Construction began in 1860 with a budget of £1 million and was completed in 3 years at a cost of £1.3 million. Linking Paddington to Farringdon with future plans to expand further. One issue with the new and now growing underground train lines was the use of steam-powered trains. At the inception of the idea, it was thought that smokeless engines would be used, which meant that little ventilation was built into the line initially. The smoke-filled carriages and stations were not an immediate deterrent, and the ventilation was improved over time. In 1864, the Hammersmith and City line was created, the District line in 1868, Circle opened in 1884, with the Northern line in 1890. The last line to open before the turn of the century was Waterloo and City in 1898, which was the first electrified line, with other lines following suit, solving the problem finally of carriages and platform smog. Central opened in 1900 and Bakerloo in 1906, along with Piccadilly. It wouldn't be until 1968 the Victoria line was added, followed by the Jubilee line in 1979, and then the Overground in 2007. Although the Elizabeth line has recently been opened and features on the tube map, it is not considered itself to be a London Underground line, as it traverses a large amount of the National Rail. The tube network now has 272 stations, 250 miles of tracks, and transports almost 300 million people a year. This coin was released into circulation as well, with almost 1.7 million minted, and of the silver proof just over 5,000 were created. From trains and tunnels to planes in the sky, I have this 2017 £2 coin commemorating the centenary of the First World War, specifically focusing on aviation. The coin was designed by Dan Flashman, who was one half of the team that designed the 2014 Commonwealth Games 50p. The coin shows an aircraft in flight with the land below designed to look like a map. When the First World War broke out, there was little use of planes for more than reconnaissance. In fact, there wouldn't even be an RAF until the end of the war. Planes in use would be under command of the Navy or the Army until in 1918 the RAF was founded as its own branch of the military. As the First World War ground to a deadlock of trench warfare, the race to develop new weapons and ways of fighting really ramped up in an attempt by both sides to break the stalemate. The Germans were the first to perfect the fighter plane, with the Fokker aircraft able to shoot forward through the propeller without damaging or ricocheting off the blades. As in many fields, the war and future wars would be a real catalyst in advancing flight. The idea of flight as a commercial business to transport people as we know it today wouldn't begin until the 1920s, although not able to transport as many people as we do now, with unpressurized cabins, cold shaky constructions, and often times where catching the train was faster. Although improvements were made over the next few decades, the 40s and the outbreak of the Second World War again helped modernise flight as a form of mass transportation. The 50s would become known as the golden age of air travel. Although still very expensive and a quite prestigious thing to do, it wouldn't be until the 70s, with the creation of the jumbo jet, that flight became affordable to more people than ever. Of this silver-proof £2 coin, 7,000 were minted and only 3,500 for this presentation, with the others going into different coin sets. We will stay in the air with this coin, one of the 5 £2 coin set released in 2018 to celebrate 100 years since the founding of the RAF. This coin features the Sea King helicopter with a man suspended by a rope below and was designed by brothers Neil and Richard Talbot. The helicopter depicted in this coin is the Westland Sea King, a UK adaptation of the US-created Sikorsky S-61 helicopter. These helicopters were designed primarily for anti-submarine warfare, although the Commando variant was designed for troop transport. These helicopters entered service in 1969 and the last one retired in 2018, the same year as this coin was released. To the best of my knowledge, and as of creating this video, this is the only UK coin to feature a helicopter as the central design. Vertical flight was not a new concept, with children's toys dating back to 400 BC, but the first flights of what we might now call a helicopter wouldn't be until 1906. Although a rudimentary creation and more rotor blades able to suspend a pilot in its first flight for a minute at a height of 2 foot, nothing like the modern helicopters we know today. It wouldn't be until 1942 that the first mass-produced helicopter would be created, the Sikorsky R4. Although beneficial with a vertical takeoff not requiring a runway, helicopters are much more expensive to operate and they are much slower than commercial planes, so won't be replacing commercial airplanes anytime soon, but they have their uses as aerial cranes, tackling wildfires, air ambulances, and NASA landed a Mars helicopter on the Red Planet in February 2021, and in April it completed its first flight, so plenty of other uses for these extraordinary feats of engineering. Of this silver-proof £2 coin, 10,000 were minted and 7,500 were released in this presentation. From the skies to the seas now, we start with 2011's release of the Mary Rose £2 coin. The coin celebrates the 500th anniversary of the launch of this great ship. The coin was designed by prolific coin designer John Bergdahl. It features an image of the vessel at sea. The Mary Rose was the warship of King Henry VIII, serving for 33 years against the French, the Scottish and Britannia. The ship was manned by 200 sailors, 185 soldiers and 30 gunners, equipped with up to 91 guns in addition to anti-personnel weapons. The construction was groundbreaking, this being a state-of-the-art warship of the time, requiring in the region of 600 oak trees to complete it. It took a year and a half to construct and was named after King Henry's favourite sister, Mary Tudor, and Rose, which was the emblem of the Tudor dynasty. During her time in service, there was rapid development in armaments, resulting in several changes to the weaponry aboard, with a major refit to the ship in 1536, adding a second level of carriage-mounted long guns. She saw much action as the flagship of Henry VIII's fleet until the Battle of the Solent in 1545, where early in battle the Mary Rose leaned heavily starboard and sunk. The reason for her sinking has been the cause of many debates, although more recently it's been suggested that a breeze reported at the time, coupled with the turning of the ship, would have left the main gun deck below the waterline. At the time, efforts were made to recover the ship, only managing to salvage rigging and guns primarily. Over time, the ship was lost to sediments and a layer of hard compacted clay. It was rediscovered in 1836, with some items being retrieved and sold. The wreck wouldn't be returned to until 1971, when it was again discovered and funds were raised to recover the wreck. By 1982, all was in place and the ship was raised, over 430 years since it sank. With that much time underwater, years of conservation were required to avoid further damage to the ship and its artefacts. The ship was sprayed to replace the salt water in the waterlogged wood and continued to be sprayed until 2013, as if it had been left simply to dry out, the wood could have shrunk, warped and cracked. There were just over 1 million of these £2 coins released into circulation and 20,000 silver proofs minted, of which 7,500 went into this presentation. 2015's World War I Navy Centenary £2 coin marks another impressive seafaring vessel, a little bit more modern than the Mary Rose. The coin was designed by David Rowlands, who created a number of coins in the World War I's Centenary £5 coin set, which we've made videos of in the past, so be sure to check those out. The coin depicts a dreadnought at sea, with a seaplane to the left and birds to the right. The particular ship featuring on this coin is not known, but many refer to it as the HMS Belfast, which would be a mistake as that wasn't launched until 1938, 20 years after the end of the First World War. What might have led to the misidentifying of the ship is that in 2015, when this coin was released, 100 brilliant uncirculated versions of this coin were put into the tills on board the HMS Belfast, which serves as a museum in London. Interestingly, those coins have a different obverse than the variant intended for circulation, using the Queen's 4th portrait rather than the 5th portrait, which appeared on circulating coinage from 2015 and onwards. Another fascinating variant of this coin is commonly called the flag error, whereby a bit of extra cud or extra metal is left on the coin whilst minting, specifically on the mast where the flag would have been flown, and that will add value to one found in circulation. It has been suggested that the ship on the coin could be the HMS Royal Oak, which was launched in 1914 and served until its sinking in 1939. But with a huge arms race between Britain and Germany to secure naval supremacy, there was a number of other ships it could be, and equally it could just boil down to being an artistic interpretation to represent the Navy at the time, rather than being one specific ship. There were only 650,000 of these coins circulating, making them one of the rarer coins to find in your change, and there were 8,500 silver proofs minted, with 5,000 going into this presentation. Our penultimate mode of transport is a bit out of left field. Here we see the 2018 J for Jubilee 10 pence. In both 2018 and 2019, the Royal Mint created 26 designs, one for each letter of the alphabet, representing something quintessentially British. The design was attributed to the Royal Mint design team rather than an individual artist for this particular coin. It features the gold state coach, which was commissioned in 1760 for King George III. It has been used at the coronation of every British monarch since George IV. Due to its size, weight and age, it's only used for grand state occasions, but prior to the Second World War it was the usual mode of transport to the state opening of Parliament. Given its opulence, it isn't the most comfortable ride though, with William IV likening it to being on board a ship tossing in a rough sea. Queen Victoria complained of the distressing oscillation when travelling in it. George VI described his ride to his coronation as one of the most uncomfortable rides I have ever had in my life, and the current Queen Elizabeth II said the ride to her coronation was horrible and not very comfortable. The coach did see use in this year's Platinum Jubilee celebrations, but rather than the Queen riding in it, there was footage from the reign of the Queen projected onto the windows. In 2018 there were only 220,000 of these coins circulated, and in 2019 a mere 84,000, making these rather tricky to find. Of the silver-proof versions in 2018, only 3,669 were minted. These mintages are somewhat skewed though, with 26 individual coins receiving similar mintages, so the set itself, much like the Olympic 50p's, are much further reaching than the individual coins. The last coin we'll look at is another commemorative 10 pence, this time a silver-proof D for double-decker bus. Again, the design is attributed to the Royal Mint design team and features a double-decker bus with a view inside at the passengers within the letter D. The bus that features on the coin is one of the iconic London double-decker buses. The first ones appeared on the road in the mid-19th century, drawn by 3 horses called the omnibus. Before 1907, London buses were different colours to signify their routes. But to stand out amongst the competition, the London General Omnibus Company painted theirs a bright red and became the largest bus operator in the city. There is even an alleged ghost double-decker bus, a number 7 bus in Cambridge Gardens in Notting Hill Gate, which has resulted in motorists swerving to avoid it before the bus vanishing without a trace, with a fatality in 1934 where the bus is said to appear. It is reported as driving with its lights off and without the driver at the wheel. In 2018 there were again 220,000 minted for circulation, and in 2019 84,000. Of the silver-proof version from 2018 there were only 2,666 minted. Well, there we go, a number of modes of transport that have featured on UK coins. Let me know in the comments which your favourite is, and as there were quite a few to choose from, if your favourite was a mode of transport that didn't feature in this video, let me know in the comments what that was. We will be getting another 2 trains very soon, with the Flying Scotsman on the £2 coin, and then also the Harry Potter 50p set featuring the Hogwarts Express 2, which we're really excited for when they launch. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. It's free to do and means you won't miss any of our future uploads, like when one of those new coins come out. As ever, there are links in the description to our website for the coins that featured in this video. We're also on Facebook and Instagram where we post lots of pictures of our coins. You can follow us on Twitter and TikTok. We've got our shop and online store, but I'll see you next time for more amazing coins from the Britannia Coin Company.